It is Nanowrimo day 3. I am still sick, still struggling to write. It has not been going well so far. I've decided, so the first 2 days were pretty much complete write-offs. I need to start cracking down and getting serious with this now because I have been slacking. I went onto Facebook to get some inspiration. I went onto this Facebook group I'm a part of called Off the Vine, which is this group of people that love Caitlin Bristow from The Bachelor South Africa, The Bachelor US. And I said, does anyone have home invasion stories, true ones that they can tell me about? And I got a couple of responses, so I thought I'd read them to you because that's what I'm busy doing, is trying to get some inspiration. I'm gonna watch Hush and The Strangers and any kind of home invasion type movie I can, just to get into that mind frame. Shut up, laptop. Hold on, let me get these stories up and I'll read them to you. So the one that got most of the people doing shocked faces on Facebook said, it was 7 o'clock on a Friday night, March 10th, 2017. My now husband, then boyfriend, and I lived with one male roommate in a 2-bedroom apartment. Boyfriend and I had just gotten home. Roommate was asleep in his room. Boyfriend was sitting on our bed on the phone with his mom, and I was in the bathroom when we heard a knock at the door. He went to check it, opened it to see no one, closed it and locked it, and started walking back to the bedroom. That's when the door was kicked in, and I hear him yelling, "Whoa, whoa, what the fuck, man?" I could hear exactly what was happening, so I hopped off of the toilet and tried to lock our bedroom door and call 911. Second dude kicked in our bedroom door, threw my phone and dragged me into the living room by the hood of my hoodie. I had my boyfriend sitting on the floor with a gun to his head, and I was forced on my hands and knees with a gun to mine. They were screaming for drugs and money. We had none. They threw my purse at me and told me to dump it. I did, and even tried to giving them my debit cards, but they wouldn't take them. They only wanted cash. Then they were mad that we didn't have anything, so they demanded that I show them where bags were so they could start loading up our stuff to steal. In the meantime, they had no clue our roommate was asleep in his room. He obviously hears what's going on, and I see him peek his head out to see that we had guns to our heads. And he quietly shut the door and calls 911. During this, the men started grabbing anything they could, PlayStation, Xbox, TVs, but their dumbasses couldn't carry them, and jewellery. Roommate who was calling 911 gets dispatched on the line and tells them that his roommates have guns to their heads, and they put him on hold. What the fuck? He started screaming, and that's when the intruders heard them. They grabbed my boyfriend and shoved him to the roommate's door and started yelling for my boyfriend to open the door and get him out. The door is obviously fucking locked, and my boyfriend can't open it. So they tried to kick his door in, but he was leaning on it, so it opened and slammed back shut. Roommate screams, "Cops are coming, get the fuck out." They stand in our doorway, guns aimed at my boyfriend and my head. I lunged forwards and slammed the door shut in their faces, and they ran. Meanwhile, 911 says they ran, so we don't need to come now. Excuse me? I grabbed my phone and screamed, "I just had a fucking gun to my head. You send officers right fucking now." And she said, "Okay," and hung up. 45 minutes later, cops showed up. They say they searched the complex and didn't find anyone. No shit, Sherlock. They were long gone now. They took our reports, got fingerprints and shoe prints from doors and my purse and such. Idiots didn't even wear gloves or masks. And then had the audacity to say it was our fault because we had drugs, and pointed to a bag on the floor, a bag of fucking catnip, which they then felt real stupid for saying that. I was told a detective would be assigned to us, and I called 2 days later. The detective was extremely nice and said the officers should have never blamed us, and they proceeded to tell me that the city didn't have the equipment to run fingerprints, so it would be sent over to the state capital and they would have results in a year. What on earth is this? America, come the fuck on. I said, please don't call me in a year when I won't even be living in the city anymore and make me go through all these emotions again. I've never been a F the police type of person, but fuck those specific cops I dealt with. 3 years later, and I still can't be home alone in the dark. I carry a pistol around in the house with me if I have to be alone, and I'm constantly checking windows and doors, pistol in hand. My cat was traumatised, and any time he heard a knock at the door or the front door opened, and it was anyone but my husband or I, he would run and hide for hours, for at least a year after it happened. The entire time I was being robbed, I was worried more about seeing my now husband being shot, or my cat, obviously scared for myself too, but dying is less scary than watching loved ones die, and I still have nightmares seeing that night end differently. Oh, it's horrifying. Yeah, I mean, my home invasion story that happened last year, it affects me still to this day. I check under the bed. I know that sounds so silly, like monsters under the bed or something, but it's true. Like, it petrifies me. I have to check under my bed before I climb in because I just have this massive fear of someone's like grabbing me under the bed. I sound like a kid, but and yeah, I mean, I don't obviously have a pistol. I don't have a gun license. Would be cool though. But I have a cricket bat, baseball bat by my bed, and yeah, now because of lockdown, starting on Thursday in England, I think it's, I'll be with my boyfriend literally non-stop, so it'll be fine. But when I'm alone, I do get really on edge and hold my cricket bat close to me at night and have to check everything before I go to bed. It's horrifying. Alright, there's a couple more stories, so buckle up. I do apologise for the way that I sound because I am very sick. Tiana says, I was about 8 years old and having a sleepover at my friend's house. Her parents were divorced and her mum ended up leaving us alone from about 10 to 3 a.m. We were watching Clueless, and after we finished, we were hanging out in her living room when a grown man walked through the back door. He was asking all of us for drugs. Why is it always drugs? I mean, that's mad. It should be like money and jewellery. But I was very confused and kept asking my friend if she knew this guy. She had 2 sisters, and one claimed the man had fixed their car. None of the 3 girls seemed that worried, but something seemed off to me. I went to go sleep in the bathroom because I was worried. My friend ended up coming into the bathroom, and we all slept in her room except for the man who was in the living room. I woke up at about 3 a.m. and there were police officers everywhere. When my friend's mum came home, she saw the stranger in her living room and thought the worst because she didn't see any of us. By the grace of God, he didn't hurt or touch any of us. Needless to say, my parents never let me sleep there again. That's bizarre. So that guy just kind of hung out in this house wanting drugs, and all the girls just locked themselves in the bathroom. That's a weird one. Christelle says, 5 years ago, our house was broken into when we were out trick-or-treating. Ooh, a Halloween story. We came home and everything was destroyed except for my daughter's room was left untouched. We had put our house on the market a few days before that and had a showing the next morning. We were going to cancel, but decided to clean the house up and move forward. Those people made an offer and we sold the house and left immediately. There was about 7 houses on the block who were broken into that night. Okay. Here we go. Another one from Lindsay. Back in 2008, I was homesick from work. I lived in a 3-story house that had been converted to 3 apartments, one on each floor, and I lived on the top floor. The people on the main floor would never lock the main floor front door, and it would make me crazy. I was watching Oprah and I thought I heard a really quiet knock on our door, but thought that must be crazy, as no one should be able to get into our inside stairwell. Something didn't feel right, so I opened the door, no people, and a man was standing there. He asked me if Jennifer was home, and I said no one lived here by that name. We were the first people to live in the apartment post-renovation. And then said, I'm on my way out. Can you please move with me down the stairs? And followed him down and locked the front door. I was texting my boyfriend about it and could all of a sudden hear someone ringing all 3 apartment doorbells from outside, like they were checking if someone was still home. My boyfriend said, call the police now, and just as I was dialing, I could see him coming up the back fire escape, and he started kicking in the 2nd floor back door. I was honestly paralysed. I could barely get sound out on the phone to 911. I couldn't move. I was too afraid to try and get out down the stairwell because I knew he was on the second floor and would have to pass him. The police came with sirens blaring and he ran away, but I wasn't able to sleep for weeks. Okay, you just never know people's intentions, do you? Alright, there's one last one. This isn't a scary home invasion, but it happened. When I was 11, we moved to Costa Rica and were renting a house in a neighbourhood that was mostly locals. My mum had picked me up at school and we got home and couldn't unlock the door. In Costa Rica, they have handles where on the inside there is a key that acts as part of the handle, and if it's turned, you can't unlock it from the outside. We were really confused because my dad was at work, so we couldn't figure out why we couldn't get in. My dad is a locksmith, so we called him and he came home and got the door open. When we got inside, the side door and the back door were open and there were things scattered all over. We had obviously just been robbed, but couldn't figure out what had been taken. We realised the person had carefully unplugged things to take because obviously wanted to sell them and make sure they worked. When we found my mum's nightshirt in the living room and it smelled, the kid had been trying on clothes and got my mum's nightshirt instead of a normal t-shirt. We must have come home right then, and he took off the shirt and ran off with some electronics because we found his shirt laying on the living room floor. They were able to identify the kid because people had seen him walking around in the neighbourhood prior to robbing us. He had stolen 2 VCRs and one walkie-talkie and one of the walkie-talkies from the set. They were able to track down who he had sold them to, but they had already been moved. It was a very strange experience. The kid was only 13 or 14, so it was really sad. Okay. Yeah, I mean, they're obviously all horrifying. I still need inspiration for this book, though. Nah! I'm gonna make some eggs. Hard-boiled, like covered in Tabasco sauce. And then I'm gonna try and write because I've got to write something for the day. Okay, I have had some eggs. I am fueled up. I'm gonna make another coffee or maybe a green tea because I've already had 2 cups of coffee this morning and I'm gonna be on a caffeine high. And then I'm gonna try and write just something for a little bit. What is my word count on at the minute? Let's have a look. I have not written anything today yet and it is 11 o'clock. Tools, word count is at 2,823. So let's see what I can get done. I'm just gonna try hammer something out and then probably watch a movie in bed with my hot water bottle to get some inspiration going. So I haven't actually done too badly. I've written 820 words so far for the day, making me 3,643 words in. I've got to get to 5,001 by the end of today if I want to meet my target. So let me read you a little something that I wrote today. I brush a layer of water over my paper. I'm up long before cookie, having had a bite of an apple and a mug of black coffee to fuel me for the day. I'm in the lounge, hunched over a pad and determined to paint something. I have a file almost tearing apart that is so full of printouts from writers' book cover requests. Some really have no idea what they want. Others have such a vivid image in their heads that it's a wonder they don't just paint the damn thing themselves. I withdraw the oldest request I have this morning, aware I'm under a lot of pressure to give the author her cover soon. Her name is Millie Reed. She's come to me for one of her book covers before, which she absolutely loved. In her latest manuscript, she wants a minimalistic cover with a telephone centre stage. A bloody handprint needs to be smeared over the phone and splatters of blood can be carelessly flung across the piece. It's so hard to talk when I'm so bunged up. The premise of the book is that a couple get their house broken into and guns pointed at their heads. The intruders are after drugs, money, jewellery, anything that they can get their hands on. What the intruders don't realise is that the couple have a roommate in a room down the hall, and while they're tying up the young couple, the roommate hears the commotion and peers out from his bedroom door. The intruders notice him and try to get him, but he locks himself into the room and calls 911. He's placed on hold while the intruders are kicking his door down, and what happens next is a fight for survival and an epic portrayal of just how slack the police force really are. In my head, I want to paint the intruders, masked and booted dark figures looming over a couple gagged and bound together back to back. I want to paint the eyes of someone crazed, someone who doesn't care what they have to do to get what they want, my eyes, but I can't. I have to paint what she wants, and that is exactly why I have a creative block right now. At some point, my art became not so much a release anymore as it did a demand for other people. I have lost the passion. I have such a backlog of work that I can't paint what I want to paint anymore. I sigh and dip into scarlet paint, watching as it leaks across the mixed cotton fibre. So, yeah, I don't know. It's going to be a very descriptive book and focusing a lot on, art and painting, and I want the images to be vivid in people's heads. So, yeah, that's what I've got so far. Not all I've written today, but I'm enjoying it. Carrying on. Okay, so I'm on Netflix, and I was actually going to watch this one, an old movie called Fear with Reese Witherspoon and Mark Wahlberg, but it's not really the home invasion one that I'm going for. So, The Strangers, much to my disappointment, because that is my favourite movie, is not on Netflix anymore. So I've got Netflix up, and I'm going to watch Hush. I've got my notepad. I've already started making some notes, and I haven't even started it yet. So hopefully this is going to give me some inspiration, and yeah, let's do this. So if you don't know, Hush is this story about this deaf writer in a cabin who can't hear anything. Obviously she's deaf, and she gets a home invasion, and it's fucking amazing. But I'm picking up so much stuff in this now. So here, Hush, there's this book that I absolutely love, The Girl in the 60 by A.R. Tor. Brilliant book. There's a Stephen King one on a little bookshelf. Just so good. It's quite a bookish movie, really, and just Hush is so visual and beautifully done because she's deaf, she can't hear anything, which I've already said, but so it starts with cracking eggs and rustling of leaves and sizzling meat and all these sounds, and then it cuts and it does the same scenes again, but completely with no sound, and that's how she lives her life, obviously. And it's so beautifully done, and it's one of my favourite movies of all time. And now seeing all these cool books on the bookshelf, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I did it. I am back on track. So my current word count is 5,004, and you need, at this stage of NaNoWriMo, day 3, 5,001. So I am 3 words ahead. Winning. It's been good. It's not in order at all. I just kind of have started writing shit to just make up words. But it's all going to slot in to the story later, which is what matters. At this stage, all you need to do is hammer the words out. So here we go. I think as of tomorrow, I need to get more of a structure and start planning more. I'm happy I'm back on schedule, which means tomorrow I only really need to write over 1,600 something words. So let's see what tomorrow brings. But as of now, I can breathe.